anyone serious about a clean energy future, one that allows for American prosperity and economic growth, but also recognizes that we need a low emissions or zero emissions future, realizes that we need to embrace nuclear energy. Nuclear energy seems to be back in the mix after years of being dormant in our political conversation. It was part of the Inflation Reduction Act to include tax credits for nuclear. So let's talk a little bit about the reasons, the case for nuclear energy, and the reasons why the U.S. has not yet truly embraced nuclear energy. The case for nuclear energy. 5 reasons. 1, it's carbon-free and it's always on. Unlike solar, unlike wind, which are intermittent, nuclear energy is always on and it's zero emissions. Which means that the 24/7 run power is a perfect solution for a clean energy, clean nuclear electric grid. 2, modern reactors are much safer than the old reactors from the 80s. So small modular reactors, or SMRs, are cheaper, they're faster to build, and they're designed with passive safety systems, which means that they're pretty much meltdown resistant by design. 3, energy security. So unlike fossil fuels, uranium supply is not subject to the same vulnerabilities of fossil fuels. So you don't have geopolitical shocks that limit the amount of supply of uranium. We can enrich our own uranium without relying on Middle Eastern partners with human rights violations. 4, smaller land footprint. Nuclear produces far more energy per acre than solar or wind, and we don't need to use massive amounts of land to use it. 5, climate realism. Just about any international agency that has put together models that will forecast a clean energy future include nuclear. Without a massive nuclear build-out and capacity here in the U.S. as well as other energy-consuming countries, you absolutely need nuclear build out. Even some former skeptics in Europe have flipped in support of this, and that seems to be why nuclear is back in the conversation. So why hasn't the United States embraced nuclear to date? 10 reasons. 1, political fear and public perception. Because of the natural disaster in Chernobyl in 1986 and the Fukushima meltdown in 2011, we have lasting fear in our society of nuclear energy, even though the U.S. has never had a real civilian catastrophe due to nuclear energy. Nuclear also evokes fears about radiation and weaponry, and so people don't view it as a clean energy, even though it is. 2, there are high upfront costs. Nuclear plants take about 10 plus years to build. They cost billions of dollars. They're often run over budget and behind schedule because the U.S. struggles to build new things, even things that we know how to build to date. Even the newer reactors are expensive to build, and there's a huge upfront cost involved. 3, regulatory red tape is a huge reason why a lot of these reactors don't get built timely. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or NRC, has a long, complex approval process for safety reasons, and so it makes it far harder to create startups in this space and enter it and reduce the overall cost of building out new reactors. 4, the fracking boom has created cheap natural gas in the U.S., which crowded out nuclear as well as other forms of energy like coal over the last 15 years. The decrease in price of energy due to fracking and natural gas has made the need for nuclear less relevant. 5, nuclear energy produces extremely long-term waste that is impossible to get rid of, waste that does not break down forever. And we as a country and we as a species have not figured out a permanent storage solution for this waste. 6, disaster risk. Even though the new reactors are safer, there still maintains a risk of disaster. Accidents are rare, but they're still possible, and it would be very high consequence. Even the possibility of a Fukushima creates huge public fear, political pushback, and just think of evacuating huge metropolitan areas. 7, security and terrorism concerns. Reactors and waste sites are potential targets for sabotage or terrorism. There's a fear that nuclear waste and uranium can be repurposed for weaponry, and that's the reason why there is all sorts of bureaucracy behind nuclear energy. 8, nuclear energy requires large amounts of water to cool down for cooling in the nuclear power plants. As a result, local ecosystems often suffer as a result of building of reactors. 9, nuclear energy is slow to scale. Even if we were to commit today, it would take 10 to 15 years before a new fleet of nuclear power plants are built. And that assumes that they're built timely. In the context of American politics, 10 to 15 years feels like forever, even though in the timeline of our climate change crisis, that is a drop in the bucket. 10, due to risk and delay and regulation, many private sectors don't have any appetite to enter the nuclear energy sector. There's limited private sector investment because of all of the reasons I laid out. And because there's limited private sector investment, most of the funding for nuclear energy, for nuclear startups, has to come from either the government, like in the Inflation Reduction Act, or from public-private partnerships, and that in and of itself slows innovation. So those are the case for nuclear energy and the reasons why we have not yet committed to nuclear energy. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Please feel free to share.